and welcome back to Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with Otto Los and Kristina Liu and Dan Cox, and we are now in our Talk of the Town segment. But first of all, great show, Kristina. Karen's always a really good guest, a lot of good information. And I like that you can always come back to CarFit, even if you've done it before.
Beck, I was thinking the same thing because, I mean, we've been at presentations, we've had Karen on there, but I feel like every time I pick up on something, another little different kind of golden nugget. And as I sit here and do the radio show, my car is right outside. I'm just staring at my car, like there's some little adjustments I got to kind of make again.
Yeah. And I like, and of course, so many of the cars have these technology advancements, but nothing really replaces the mechanics of the whole thing, how you need to be seated. And, you can't always count on that, rear view camera. You got to turn your head. You still got to do it, even though it's great. I mean,
I think it's like one of those things where it's like an added kind of bonus, so even, what I do find helpful, I mean, we're always laughing and when I'm in the car with my mom, because she has it'll make the sound if you go over the line kind of thing. Oh, yeah. If the car is too close to you. So that thing is constantly, firing off in the car with Barbara. But, I always think like that those little things, or the backup camera, are good kind of, little extra security, but I think you're right. At the end of the day, it still is technology and doesn't compare to you actually, making that turn or checking your mirrors, or whatnot.
Right.
We didn't touch on is that like technology in a car compared to years ago is like another planet. And that includes things like the GPS systems, whether they come with your car or Waze or whatever you might use. And they can be quite helpful if you are really not sure where you're going. Because I remember having to drive with a map on my lap in the dark sometimes by myself when I used to travel a lot for work. And that's not a good idea. So if you can get past that and learn how to use some of these technologies, it's a good thing. It can be a bad thing if it becomes a distraction.
Right.
But I think it is important, because Karen had mentioned, which I think we've all been guilty of, is like, whether you're buying a new car or if you're in a rental car or something, you're in such like a hurry just to like get out of there and like go on your way. But it really is important to spend that time to learn the features. I mean, I've been guilty of it myself. There's times that I've gotten a new car and I'm like, I'm not totally sure what all these buttons do. So it's really important to, take that time, especially, if you're buying a car, to sit with the salesperson and go through each thing, and then check your manual, there it is, because a lot of these cars, it's great, but there are a lot of features, in it that, you should kind of become familiar with.
I find it really true with rental cars because most cars are pretty consistent, but there are some brands, which I don't remember the name of this particular one, they're different.
Yeah, and, of course.
Then don't take that car because you don't have that much time to adapt.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing too is when you're driving is not the time to fiddle to figure out what these features are. And a lot of the cars will say, please wait until you're parked. And like it won't allow you to kind of delve deeper into that. But it is a distraction, I use Waze, I use, or MapQuest, but pretty much lately I've been using Waze, and I have it up on my screen constantly, even if I know where I'm going, just because sometimes it gives you, the traffic alert. Yeah. But it does something that I find is distracting, is it sends me like little things, say there's like a hidden police officer and it'll tell you like how far ahead it is, and it will then ask you, was this helpful, did you see it, did you and you're supposed to hit, and I'm like, I'm driving on the throughway, and but on the other hand, it also says when there's something in the road.
I know, I like that, the obstructions,
and I know it's going to be there, so it's kind of like it's distracting, but I appreciate Waze letting me know that there's a hidden police car, but I would rather not have to respond, because then it covers up other things. Was it there? Was it not there? I'm like,
Yeah, but you know what? The Waze is not like a magic thing. It's some person
Mhm.
pushing an orange or a yellow button, whatever color that is, that when there's an incident, you are the person,
Mhm.
You
somebody
inform
hits
them,
that
right?
button and you're the one who says it. That is
And
a
they work off
distraction.
satellite too.
And that is
So,
a distraction. And
right,
I don't do that. I'm only receiving. I'm not
right,
sending
right.
I know. Well, you know
information.
what I find, and listen, it's not, I use all the different kinds of map apps, just
Me
depending
too.
on,
Yep.
whatever it might
MapQuest,
be. But I do find that
Mapcore.
Waze is helpful, because I prefer to be the passenger in most instances. So that's great, because I'm the one that, is able to do that while Jay is driving. It's not like, so that's great for that situation. But I totally, because when I have been driving a lot, it's like, I don't have time to, I'm just trying to find out where I'm going. I can't be
Right.
answering a questionnaire, at the time of it. But I think these are all like real things, and especially if you are an older driver who, started off in cars. I mean, we were laughing, when I was like, I was in cars with no seatbelts, like, I mean, and now there's so much technology built into these cars that it really is important for you to get comfortable with it and be aware of everything, because it is, it's dangerous, not to. And I encourage everyone to do this car fit for anyone of any age that is listening.
Right.
We've all done it, and I think it is important, these little kind of refreshers. And I laugh because I say it all the time. I mean, that mirror thing with the side view mirrors is something that really struck me when I did my car fit. And
Well, when I think just after we started doing this, I think it was Claudia who
mhm,
got, she was CarFit certified, and then I think Shari after. I'm not
yeah,
sure, but anyway,
yeah,
she practiced on me,
yes, yeah, because
and
that's what it was with me too, right?
how to wear the seatbelt.
Mhm,
And I did learn a lot of things. I wasn't sitting right. I, had the
mhm,
seatbelt. I would put the seatbelt kind of too close to my neck. I mean, there were just
yeah,
all kinds of things, and she adjusted me. And
mhm,
I've talked about this on the show
mhm,
when we had our office in Roslyn, right off the Long Island Expressway. And I always would get on the LIE going east, and they made some like changes to the ramp entrance, which was kind of confusing, and shortened the actual entrance so that you're in the left lane, you're going really fast, or you're going into,
right,
you have to literally hit your brakes. So, I was going along, I got onto the new ramp, and the light, like how they added the lights to
yes,
come onto the expressways, was too close to the actual service road. They
mhm,
have since moved it a lot
right,
closer to the entrance.
mhm,
And there was a car ahead of me stopped. I stopped. The car behind me was going too fast, knocked me into the car ahead of me. I bounced back and hit that car. Another car came behind. It was literally a 4 or 5 car
terrifying.
accident. And my car was banged up really bad. Someone else had to be taken away. I got right out of my car, and I had no, after you get jolted like that, especially back and forth,
Right, of course.
nothing. And I've been in an accident where the next day my neck
Yeah.
hurt. I got out of that car and I was like, I'm all right. Everybody else all right.
God.
Everybody got out slowly. But it was because if I hadn't been in that proper position, I
Yeah.
was so recently car fit.
Right. But
I
I think that, and I was sitting here, while Karen was talking, and it really is important to realize is that, you know, these things in your car are put there for a reason, right? And it's been tested, and all kinds of things to do these safety, and because I've seen, with the head restraint. I mean, I've been guilty of it too. That like it's something that I don't really pay attention to adjusting unless it's like uncomfortable or something. You're like, what just happened here? Like, so, but it really serves a purpose, and I'm so glad that Karen broke that down to really explain to you, why it's important to have that headrest at a certain, kind of touching your head and stuff. So,
No, you
because
use the
it
word
can be
options.
uncomfortable.
Use the word options. Like a lot of times, I'll say to Bonnie, my passenger, I guess they didn't take the turn signal option when they bought that car. You know,
Right.
a
No, but
lot
I
of
think it's
people.
like, and
I mean,
people
what
like,
is so hard about using the turn signal? That's a safety thing.
yeah, of course.
You're
It's
letting people know
huge.
what you're going to do, and it's become such a habit. I'll
Yeah.
do it no matter what. If there's
Yeah.
nobody around, you
I
just do
know.
it. Big deal. Flip it. But there are so many people that do not use turn signals. I don't get it.
But
You
that's
know,
why I think that all these kind of trainings are so important, whether it's carpet, whether it's a defensive driving class, because, a lot of us have been driving for a very long time. And like, listen, I get it. When you've been doing something for a long time, you get like a certain level of, cockiness in the situation. And I think it is good to, kind of be brought back, like when I'm getting my car, today, I'm going to like just double check my headrest and stuff because listen, my husband drives my car. It's constantly being changed. And I love that she said when you do get carpet, she doesn't do it for you. You have to learn how to adjust this, where
Right.
certain buttons are and stuff.
I had 5 items on the list that I'm going to check.
Oh, cool. There you go.
Really.
Yeah.
Did you make an appointment, Otto?
No, I'm doing my own car fit in this case.
Otto's going to be a technician.
Well, I
before
mean,
the
it's
season
based
goes
on
over.
listening to what she's talking about.
Absolutely.
But,
Mm-hmm.
head restraint.
Mm-hmm.
I never think about the head restraint.
That's what I was saying. The same thing. I mean, I never really think about it, and now I'm going
No,
to.
it's there. I
Yeah.
know it's there. Is it set right? I have
Right.
no idea.
But I didn't even realize that you could flip it around.
No, I
So
didn't
I
either
thought that was
until today.
an interesting
You
little
know?
golden nugget. So a
It's,
great thing. I encourage people to reminder. Obviously, most of our listeners are in the North Hempstead area. So Clinton G. Martin Parks Car Fit is going to be on April 27th. So definitely book your appointment because there is limited spots. So that's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Clinton G. Martin
One
Park.
other one that I didn't really think about, she said something about tilting the steering wheel down as far as you can so that it's only 2 to 3 inches above your knee.
Yep, I'm going to try that one
I
too.
think mine is up here somewhere.
Yeah, I'm going to try. I adjusted my steering wheel, but I'm going to do it again. That was another one out that stuck in my head because listen, we've all been there when you've seen the driver that looks like a ghost is driving the car. I mean, I think all of us can say that you're like, where's that driver? I can't even see the driver, because the steering wheel's so high, you don't see anything. And I think these are good little, everyone knows I love a practical tip. So the fact that, just you should have your chin above, so these are things that you could really think of easily before you get in the car and do it. And listen, I'm sure a lot of it is, awkward at first because, you're not used to necessarily driving that way. But I like when she said, you kind of ease your way into, getting it fitted correctly. So
it's kind of like yoga, the positions when you first do it, they don't feel right and you're not quite there. But you're not going for comfort right away. It's like the most important thing when you're driving is not that you should be uncomfortable, but this is more about safety and then comfort. So,
no, and I agree. I always laugh at Otto because I remember when we were talking about defensive driving. One day Otto was saying, like people forget they're operating like a machine when they're driving. It's like this invisible, it's like they don't realize the impact, that doing things the wrong way can really have. It's like, oh, I'm just like driving, people, as you said, they don't put on their directional, they're just kind of doing whatever. I mean, I've certainly been behind those people that I'm like, what is going on here, So it's it really is important to to understand and to do all these things.
Well, do you ever wish that you could put the rear view vision, the TV thing on while you're going forward?
Yeah.
So you could see, like if you could hit a button and then see the back of what's going on.
You need like a dash
some
cam
moron
situation going.
About 1/8 of an inch behind your car. And you're hoping that they have a turn signal on to get off.
Yeah, but
some cars.
Go ahead, finish.
I would say some cars, when you put your blinker on, you can see from the side view mirror. There's all kinds of fancy. My car has so many cameras. It's almost annoying. Like if there's a car close to me, it'll beep or a light will go on when it's really, I'm aware it's there, but I don't need to. You have to like desensitize your cameras and your technology too. Because otherwise it's just something's going to go off every few, I know.
And that's what I was saying. It's like, it was so, because when my mom was like the first car, when she had her car, that like, I heard, that was doing all that beeping, if you're too close to the line or there's a car too close to you. And my husband was like, what is all these sounds like going on in your mom's car? It was just like every 5 seconds. But like, gradually you do get, and like, it just becomes kind of in the background as a good little, reminder.
Well, I mean, there are times where it is good to be out of the lane. Like I find if I'm going down a street. Like by us, there's Denton Avenue. All right. Denton Avenue has all kinds of cars parked on the right side, trucks, cars, the whole bit. And when you go down Denton Avenue and there are no other cars, I don't ride in that lane right next to it. I'll ride right on the white line
Yeah,
going down
I
because
know.
there's no other cars.
I know.
To
I hear you.
me, that's safer
Yeah.
than being in my lane.
I know, I hear you. That's well, listen, these are all and I want to remind people on top of a car fit you can schedule, we also have a bunch of defensive driving classes through the town that are also coming up. I think there's still some space available for the April 22nd one. It's Saturday, April 22nd, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. There's a 30-minute lunch break. That's also at Clinton G. Martin Park. The next one is May 20th, and then there's one, in June and September. So there's a whole bunch of dates. So you can call 311 or 516-869-6311 for more information on that. The cost is $25 for AARP members and $30 for non-members. So I encourage people to get out there, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of things on the road, that is out of your control, but I feel if you're able to do everything in your power to, maintain safety, it's important to do. So,
one of the things that I always remember about that, and I know we got the high sign, is the cluster. They talk about the cluster. And if you ever pay attention when you're driving, you will see cars clustered together. And they say, avoid the cluster.
I like that. There you go. Avoid the cluster.
Avoid the cluster. All right. So we'll avoid the cluster, and we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Project Independence in You. We're in our Talk of the Town hour of the show, and we'll be right back with Kristina Liu, Otto, and Dan Cox.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast, and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
And welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We are now in our Talk of the Town segment. It's the second hour of our program, Project Independence in You. Our first, of course, we had Karen Blackburn, who was talking about mature driving tips and car fits. So we've got, listed a lot of car fit programs. You can call the number that we had mentioned earlier. You can always call 311 to get more information. So what's going on in North Hempstead, Kristina?
Yeah,
before you do that, I got one more car thing.
Go ahead.
My father, who I mentioned earlier, drove a truck. He drove a milk truck. All right. And one of the things he told me, he used to take me before I was eligible, to be honest about it, into the weeds and Broad Channel in Queens. And nobody knew they didn't know if you were alive back there. But one of the things I remember that he taught me early on was when you go down the street and there's a lot of cars parked on both sides, which there was where I grew up. There were always cars. He said, you always look under the wheels of those cars as you're going down to see if there's any activity going on. And I've talked to all my grandchildren. None of them ever heard that in any driver's ed or anything.
I never did. Yeah.
So you go down the block, and when you're going down the block, you look under the car, and if you see any movement, that's how you're going to really be able to pick it out. And I've never heard people talk about it, but I remember that one.
Yeah. Well,
anyhow, back to the town.
There it is. You heard it. You heard it here first. Otto's little golden nugget. I like that. Well, there's a lot going on in North Hempstead. We had mentioned last week that we were getting ready to send out our Pioneer newsletter. It's made more progress, so hopefully it should be hitting homes, next week or so. If you are not getting the Pioneer, I also just want to remind people, the Pioneer only comes out about twice a year. A lot of people, I think it comes out more, and they assume that they're not, getting it. But regardless, you could always call 311. I will check and make sure that your name is on the list because we really want you to get this newsletter. It's got a lot of information. So just some things we have about integrative medicine. We have May is Older Americans Month, Aging Unbound, which is just such a great topic. Just kind of us redefining aging, which I think Project Independence does every day. We also have 5 steps to safer healthcare from the Pulse Center. We have some hassle factors about all those. Otto, you might have to add, some driving things in your next column, so just keep these little golden nuggets in the back of your head. We have a lot about just different PI programs, whether it's our taxi program, our help at home maintenance programs, the partnership we have with the Rehabilitation Institute and with Rebuilding Together Long Island. Of course, we have about our radio show and our advisory. We've got some great healthy food shopping tips, a little emotional wellness checklist, and just a whole bunch of events that are coming up as well. So please keep your eyes peeled. Hopefully it should, with the holidays, it gets a little crazy. So hopefully maybe like in a week or two, it should be hitting everyone's home. And if you have access to an email, please also call 311-516-869-6311 to give me your email address. And then you'll be put on the monthly email newsletter, which has, everything that's coming up that month. So it's a great tool, all the kinds of things that are going on in North Hempstead, because there's a lot on top of Project Independence that is going on as well. So definitely check that out. We have coming up on April 23rd is a Shed the Med program. The town is doing it in partnership with the Great Neck Water Pollution Control District, but it's open to everyone in the town. Residents can drop off different sharps if you have that for medication and pharmaceutical waste. And it's a which I like. It's a contactless drive-through event. So I think that's great.
There's a Shed the Meds tomorrow at Town Hall, which
that's
I'm
right.
going to.
There you go, Otto.
I am going to.
Cool.
On Plandome Road.
Yes, it is going to be April 8th, Shed the Med. That's right. North Hempstead Town Hall parking lot, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Will be that program. So it's important, I think, we certainly say we have a lot of different medications that whether it's over the counter or, prescription that we're not exactly sure what to do with. I was doing that. I was helping clean up stuff up with my parents and there was so much expired medication, so I was like, all right, let's just put it in a little box. And then when there's an event, we could, do that too. So that's just some great stuff to do. And also on April 22nd is an e-waste program that the town is offering. And that's on West Shore, 802 West Shore Road in Port Washington. So you're able to drop off e-waste. So there's all kinds of great ways to recycle these things safely, and the town is certainly has its finger on the pulse with all of that as well.
Talking recycling, I was kind of interested in a flyer that came around about shrink wrap recycling.
I saw that. I saw the shrink.
Yeah, but we may not know the answers, but what is shrink wrap exactly? I mean, does that include plastic wrapping that goes around? Like when
it's funny, Otto, I was thinking that too, because I was wondering like how intensive, or if it's just like, because people shrink wrap, I mean, there's boats and obviously, but it's like a lot of your patio furniture, people will do in the winter months. So you can call 311, to find out the specifics, but I'm assuming it means like the bigger bulk of, shrink wrap for these things that, we're coming into spring now, so it's all that stuff is kind of being removed. So I'm assuming that's, but it's so important, I think that's like another thing you just don't really think of, that these things have to be, disposed of, correctly. A lot of times like, okay, here's shrink wrap, I'm just going to throw it in the garbage, but that might not be correct. So I
have a recycling, it's like a phenomenon, and I don't know what to do because bags, recycle bags. So I recycle every single bag I get. Sometimes if I go to the supermarket and I forget or I rush in and I don't grab them out of my cars, I am inundated with bags, whether they're paper, and I store them and I use the paper bags to recycle my paper, but they just, obviously Kristina and I know we do shop a lot. So there's always bags of certain kinds. And if you get a food delivery, they send it in their own bag. So I have so many bags of bags, and I try to stay organized to bag the paper bags and to bag the kind of, supermarket bags in. Not as many. Happy to say, I definitely don't have many
I've
plastic.
officially, yes, all my plastic bags have officially like been disappeared, since
Disappear. But what do? What do you do? So now I have my trunk is filled with bags of bags.
I just had this conversation with my mom, so it's making me laugh.
I have bags of bags now coming, and then when the son comes home from school, and then his bags are bags of bags, and then when is it okay? When is my conscience clear that how many usages is okay?
So, okay, this is my rule of thumb. Let me give you my rule of thumb, because I of course have, and I'll see, like, because I really only have like recyclable, reusable kind of bags now,
right
from stores. So it's mostly, that. And then of course, as you said, like if you go to a clothing store or something, they'll give you some kind of, recyclable bag. But if it's, obviously if it starts to get worn and there's like holes, and if it's dirty, like inside, garbage.
Right. I don't want my food in a dirty bag.
And it's not worth cleaning. I use them till like the handle falls off of half of them. And then I am actually happy when the handle rips, because I feel like I have a reason to like throw it away.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, it ripped. Okay, get rid of this bag. But I was laughing. I just had this conversation with my mom, because when we were cleaning out things for her upstairs for the fridge to be put in, she was like, I have so many bags upon bags. She's like, and then I have so many bags in my car. And she's like, I'm just not sure like what bags, And so I was like, what I try and do, and listen, it always starts off beautifully. I looked on like a YouTube video of how to, fold up a recyclable bag, and you could either use the handles to keep it compact, or you could use like a rubber band. It's beautiful in theory. When you first do it, everything is so neat. It saves you so much room. But we all know at the end of the day, you're coming back from the grocery store. You just want to like roll it up and put it. You're not sitting there, doing, neat little rolling with your thing. So it is a real issue. And it's something that since, plastic bags, which is great, has been, banned from using from these different stores. I bought so many, and I just constantly am accumulating, a different bag, and it is a real issue. And I'm sure
there's gotta be like a website, or if you Google, what do you do with all, because there's going to be more. It's not like, every year you just accumulate more and more and more. And even my office, because now when I bring my lunch, or I start out on Mondays and I bring everything for the week, and then I have a bag, and then I empty that, and then I put that bag on my shelf. And now my shelves at work are filled with bags because.
But wouldn't you just put paper bags that are clean in paper recycling?
Yes,
paper,
you could do that. That will
but
resolve
when it has
it.
grease and food on it, then it has to go in the
garbage, right?
Yeah,
now,
if they're ripped, I'm not keeping them.
But you still get plastic bags. When you I get Newsday every day. Around Newsday, there's a plastic thing, and that's different than a plastic bag, because it's flimsier. The plastic bag you get like in a drugstore or other places that they're still allowed to use plastic bags. I put them, frankly, all together with the Newsday bag. I stick them all into one bag, and I squeeze it all together, and I put it in with the plastic and the cans and all the other recycling stuff.
Yeah,
And
but my
is
thing
that
is,
right? I don't know.
Yeah,
no, those bags are not recyclable.
Yeah, because I mostly just have the reusable bags. I very rarely have like a paper bag, unless it was like Target or something. But I'm usually, it's those reusable bags that are bulky, too. So it's hard to kind of finagle it. But I think that's we're gonna have to find someone who's an expert on
well, like a lot of the bags, the Target type bags, they have the red circle around them. Those are
I think you can return some Target bags to actually Target. They have a recycle bin for shopping bags there. I don't know if it was for when they had the plastic, or if it's currently for the paper, but the paper bags really just can be recycled. Because I use them. I double when I go to Trader Joe's, and Trader Joe's now, I bring my recycled Trader Joe's bags that I've had for years, You know, I have them like filed. If I'm going to Trader Joe's, I'm using their shopping bag. You know, I'm not going to use.
Oh, I like that. Beck tries to keep it very consistent. She doesn't want to offend anybody. She's trying to.
Right. I'm not using my Ginzes, my, Stop and Shop eggs, my Fresh Direct. No.
I really like that.
Stu
But
Leonard, I have a couple of Stu Leonard
oh
bags.
wow, look at it. See, we could all compare our bags. But I personally have a lot of Marshalls and TJ Maxx bags because those reusable bags are the prettiest.
Those are good. Yes.
They have such, and they're real big, and they
Did you
always
have to
have like
pay
some
for
kind of.
those?
Hmm?
Did you
I
have
have a
to
lot.
pay for those?
Yeah, it's like 99 cents. But I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
just
what
I
they're
usually
going
give them as
regularly.
I usually
99
give them as
cents.
gifts or something,
And then you
Like,
forget to bring a bag, so now you got to get another bag.
well, I've gotten better, because that used to always happen to me in the beginning, when this kind of changeover was just happening, and I'd be like, oh my God, I forgot my bags. But now I feel like I've just really become adapted to it. But listen, these are real things that people are gonna have to figure out because it is an issue.
You know what? It's spring cleaning, and
Yes,
it's in my
that's
head.
right.
So I'm going to recycle all my paper
Yes.
bags, all
like
of
it.
them, and I'm going to really just get rid of the bags that are really not in great shape and
Yes.
start off anew because I think this is a confessional. I'm just, if you don't mind, just bearing with me for a minute.
It's all right.
So
It's like little spring cleaning tips. I support it because there are,
it's
I
time.
think there really are things that, it's time to go, with
It's
certain.
time. It's, I've done my due diligence. I've
That's right.
utilized these
Like,
bags.
you have that moment. You said we had a good run. So thank you,
Yeah.
Beck. We had a good run,
Thanks.
but now
Okay.
it's time
Thank you
for me
all
to
for
move.
listening to this, and let's move on.
I like it. The town has a lot of great programs coming up, speaking of spring and Easter and Passover and all these, uplifting kind of springy holiday and events that are going on. There's going to be Hop into Spring on April 15th. It's going to be at Bunky Reed Park, and that's over in Westbury. And it's from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. This is a really fun thing for the whole family. It's going to have an Easter egg hunt, some games, some rides, crafts, fun. It's really nice. And I love these kind of events the town does that you can come out with the whole family, whether you're a grandparent or a parent or a kid. It's a fun little, come together program. So April 15th, definitely check that out. I want to remind people that we have a lot of Project Independence programs and groups that are coming up. We have, of course, our Blankets of Love group is still going strong at the Clinton G. Martin Park on Tuesday. So if you are someone who can crochet and wants to be involved in this really great program, call 311. We have Bridge program at Yes We Can Community Center, which is really picking up momentum. You do not need to be a master by any means to join this. And that's on Wednesdays from 12 to 2 p.m. We have a social discussion group that meets on Thursdays, and that's virtual. So if you still want to do something, but you're not comfortable going in person, or can't get out, whatever it might be, you can join this group. We also have a great program coming up at Magnolia Gardens. It's kind of mirrors a topic we did on our show, which was deciphering food package claims. That's going to be on Wednesday, April 12th. Over at Magnolia Gardens at 11 a.m. We had such a great time with that.
One of our fave topics.
I know. And I had all the I actually made a copy of the printouts that she had sent me so I can kind of keep it in my house too. I love to just randomly shout it out to people because after we always have some kind of Cornell cooperative topic on the show, I'm always, telling people okay, this is how you probably read it. And then with the storage tips in the fridge, I'm like, all right, you got to store this here and this here, so it's a lot. I use it in my daily life, all this great information. We have Golden Hearts Bingo and blood pressure screenings is April 13th, 20th, and 27th. That's Thursdays over at the Roslyn Community Center from 12 to 1. It's I encourage people to go. You have some fun, and you could also meet with a social worker and nurse and have your blood pressure checked.
Mm-hmm. And take a chair yoga class.
See, you could make a whole day of it. Thursday, April 13th and Friday, April 14th, we have 2 St. Francis Van dates, and those are the first of the year. Thursday, April 13th, it's going to be at the Yes We Can Community Center, and Friday, April 14th, it'll be at Clinton G. Martin Park. Don't need to make an appointment. you could just show up and get these screenings if you're in the area. And then, of course, we will have a whole bunch coming up as well. We also have our men's group that meets on Fridays at the Hillside Public Library at 10:30 a.m. So if you want to join that, join that. And of course, we have our advisory committee meeting is coming up on April 19th, both virtual and in person, Clinton G. Martin Park. And sign up today.
All right, well, let's take a quick break and we'll come back because there's a lot more to hear about what's going on in North Hempstead and with Project Independence. We'll be right back after a quick break. You're listening to Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be right back.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Rebecca Miller along with Otto Los and of course Kristina Liu, who's the radio show producer and pulls these shows together every week. Kristina, I know at one point we had a count on how many actual shows you've produced. What was
I have to check. I can't even remember. It's long gone out of my brain.
It's got to be near 1,000, right? Somewhere.
I would think so.
Well,
Yeah,
we
but you
used
have
to
to
have,
also remember, there's a lot of shows where there's multiple guests. It's not even just one, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's just nice though to look back. And that's why I always love when our anniversary show comes up to kind of remember all the amazing guests, and that's why I love if we're having a program where we're trying to brainstorm on a speaker, having this kind of whole archive of amazing radio show guests really comes in handy because you're like, wait, I think I know someone that, might be good for that. So really a great thing. And you had mentioned earlier, but I want to encourage people, if you have missed an episode, you can just go to the WCWP YouTube page or the Project Independence website. We have videos there. Before we were doing videos, we have the archives of the actual just radio interview. So, you're covered. And you could certainly find, really, really great topics. So check it out. So
yeah, it really is amazing how much storage there is on, even the North Hempstead website. I was kind of looking to, someone had a question about an older fitness class, and I looked back and every single class, you're able to access every single class on our Project Independence and You.
See, it's the beauty of, technology. It comes in handy with those things. We also got, I love getting, I love subscribing to a newsletter. So on top of course, the Project Independence newsletter, the town itself just has, a general kind of newsletter, which what I thought was interesting. On Tuesday, April 18th, there's going to be a crime prevention community forum. North Hempstead Council member Delamonte and the Port Washington Police Department, along with the Port Washington Library, they're hosting a crime prevention forum. It's April 18th at 7 p.m. It's free to the public. There'll be a bunch of different speakers from the police department, from Dime Bank will be there, and just some people from the library as well, talking about scams, of course, phone scams, mail-in phishing scams, computer scams, auto theft, check fraud, identity theft, debit card scams, credit card skimming, and cybersecurity. So reading that, makes you a little anxious, but I think it is important to certainly check all these things, and to really, I encourage people, that's a good thing that there is now, is that a lot of credit cards or your bank card, whatever it might be, there's different things kind of built into them now to kind of monitor if something looks weird. And I don't even get mad if, they question something, because I'm like, question it. I'd rather a purchase be questioned, because it's scary and these things could happen. And I always encourage people to always monitor your bank, statements. We always laugh because, I have my old fashioned check registrar that I carry around with me, so this way I always have an up to date,
You still do that?
I do, because, a lot of times, the transaction is not necessarily up to date. I might make a payment through my debit card that hasn't shown up yet in the transaction here. So I need that like instantaneous, on the spot kind of thing. So that's just something I think I will do forever, but that's just
You
my
use debit as opposed to credit?
no, but it's the same. My debit card is like, it still just gets taken out immediately. So,
Right. No, yeah, but that's a debit card. A credit
Mhm.
card, you don't pay it until the statement.
Oh yes. Yeah. No, I'm
Right.
not, that's like a whole nother thing. I'm a very zero credit card kind of debt gal. I'm a little anal. Me and my husband are a little crazy.
See, I'm the opposite. I'll do credit because I don't have to pay it for
Yeah,
30
no,
days.
and most people do. I get it. I'm a little
I do
anal,
both.
when it comes to things. But
You do both.
yeah, and we do both too, but we're like, I usually try to, because I like to just know immediately, obviously if it's a big purchase, I can't do that. But neither here nor there. I want everyone to always just be aware. And a lot of your credit cards, my husband's credit card, he had signed up with, I think he pays like a very small fee every month for like an identity theft thing. So they'll send him reports and, check in. And I encourage you all to do that because it does, there's times with him. It's, he got, I think it was last year, he was notified that his social security number was being used on the dark web. And he called me, he's like, babe, I was like, I'm not sure how, but these things happen, and it's important to, get ahead of it, as best as possible. So go to
Well,
this.
you can set up alerts for all of that.
Yeah,
stuff.
that's what
Like
I'm saying. But I encourage people to do that because I have that on mine too, these alerts, and it is good. My mom, I know on hers, which is wonderful with, no plug on anything, but with American Express, I'm sure other cards do this too. She has it notified that if someone's not using the actual hard credit card in person,
Right.
online, she'll get notified immediately, that there was some kind of, the card wasn't present, it was an online purchase. So there are little things you can do. Unfortunately, with technology, we always say this, it's easier for these different kind of scams to occur. And it's just it's important. And it's just weird how these things work. I don't know if I told this story on here, but I'll share this story. I came back with my mom from a bunch of medical tests she was having done. We literally just came back. We pull into our driveway. The phone rings. And of course, she's like on high alert because she was waiting for different, calls from doctors and stuff. She didn't recognize the number and didn't say, so she answers it because she wasn't sure. And the woman, says her name and says, oh, you've been having met. And like, just, so my mom's thinking it's, one of the doctors from there. And it wasn't. It was someone like phishing. And she wouldn't, my mom like lost her mind on this woman, needless to say. And because she wasn't, the woman just wouldn't. She's like, oh, are you having pains in your arm? And I was like, what are you talking about having pain? Okay, wait, are you having pains in your leg? And it was all these bizarre questions that this person was just trying to find some kind of thing to grasp onto. And then when my mom like just screamed, and said like, the woman hung up. And it was just that we Googled the number and it was one of those things that said, someone is scamming, and so it's just, you have to just be aware.
I just heard a good reply, and I haven't had the opportunity to use it because I usually don't pick up the call.
Right.
But when somebody calls like that, you just say, I just want you to be aware that this call is being recorded for training purposes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And 99 times out of 100 people will hang up when you say something like that. But I think if I were on the other end and they said that, I'd hang up if I'm a scam.
Yeah, I mean, I get this literally, it has to be for months upon months now. And it's usually around the same time, a phone call from this number. And it's, because now cell phones, usually will say, possible scam, or, they'll say something. So you're kind of aware. Calls me like every single day. I'm like, I literally never answer. You think they just give up on me, but they just keep on keeping on. So
I just block. I block a call.
Yes.
If someone calls me and they don't leave a message and I'm not familiar with the number, I block it.
Yeah.
If the call is so important, if they can't leave me a message, then, with the information to call them back, I block it. I also like now too, I don't, with certain emails, if you go to delete it, it'll say delete or report and delete. So you can report. What's that, Otto?
I think it says unsubscribe.
That's an email.
Yeah, but that's like, right. That's actually
I thought
right.
you said email.
It
You're
could
talking
be
about,
it could be
uh,
a text or an
Yeah.
email. You have
okay,
options now to
Yeah.
report
right.
Mhm.
as
No,
opposed to
and that's, listen, I get so many, I'm almost desensitized from the amount of, scammy kind of emails I get that are like, will look like, Amazon or, something. And I get a lot of these like in recent times saying like, oh, we had a problem delivering your package, and it'll look like, UPS or the post office, whatever it might be. And then when you click, you realize it's not, it has nothing to do with it. They're just hoping, and I get that quite often. So I'm always trying to, consciously forward that on and report it. Because listen, that's all you can do. And we say this all the time. And, we're lucky to have a place where you can kind of share these possible scams, our advisory committees. We will bring it up all the time too. I remember, often someone would come in and say, this happened to me. And it's all we can do is educate, because unfortunately, we can't necessarily stop them all. But it's just to be aware, we don't want people to be terrified, but we just want you to be proactive in these situations.
Well, you
So,
reduce the risk of being scammed.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it's important to really share it. I think that so often, was this common, notion that you were, stupid, or, you fell for it. And it's really not, it's very easy to, with these things. And especially as they get craftier, so a lot of people were hesitant to come forward, but it's so important to really
yeah.
come.
Otto, you just gave me this idea. Have you ever answered your door? And we really tell seniors not to answer the door. So, I mean, unless you absolutely know who the person is, why they're there, you're expecting them. If they're not expected, don't answer. But sometimes somebody comes to the door and they're wearing like a bright, vest that looks like they're part of the town or part of a county, or they're working. And then it's like, oh, hi, we were at your neighbor's house and we're doing their windows. And then it's like, well, why are you deceiving me with that? But instead of it, you know what? Why don't you answer the door and say, do you mind if I record this while you stand there and try to sell me something? And just have your phone, and maybe they'll go. Maybe they'll be like, oh, okay, no, they might leave. So I'm just going to record this just so I don't miss anything you're trying to sell me.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Just to be really thorough. Yeah.
That's
thorough.
the only problem is you hope that you don't have somebody who wants to get into your house.
I know.
Right. Exactly. So,
then it doesn't
is that a
matter
good
anymore.
idea? Maybe not. Maybe you shouldn't do that. But I'm just saying.
I mean, what do they call that when they break into the house? I forget the term. That people break in.
Yeah.
They push in, or?
No, well, yeah, and then they cause harm and steal. But what's that? There's a term for that.
There is a term. I can't think of what the term is, but there is.
It's blank at the moment.
I know what you mean. It's blank.
We got 8 minutes to come up with it.
Sorry, all the pressure is on.
Dan, do you know what we're talking about?
Dan's pondering over there.
Breaking.
But yes, listen, do the thing. Go check out that. There's a lot of presentations. The library, Project Independence. We do a lot of these chats and programs on this, and I think it's always, it's one of those things. It's always good to refresh about that, especially when it's community based. What I also think is great, the town is doing on Tuesday, April 25th. They're having a fentanyl community forum. When Supervisor DeSena was on our radio program, she talked about this a lot too, and I think it's great that the town is really getting involved. So, Supervisor DeSena, the town's Substance Misuse Advisory Council, they're going to address the devastating fentanyl poisoning crisis and opiate epidemic. The community forum will be held in partnership with the Long Island Council Against Drug Dependence, which is LICAD, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York. It's going to be on April 25th, 7 p.m. at North Hempstead Town Hall. In addition, at the conclusion of the forum, attendees will be trained to administer Narcan. It's a free program, and you have to register for it. So please call.
My grand plan is I'm going to go to that.
Good.
There's a lot of people I've been involved with that have had issues, and this fentanyl, we talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
How does it get into the system? I don't mean the system, the person's system. I mean the whole deal. How does it start? Where did this fentanyl come from?
It's cheap and highly addictive.
Country,
it did. It actually does come from another, and it's cheap and highly addictive. So that's why it's cut into, these other drugs that people might be, whether it's pills or whatever, it's cut into like a lot of different things. And it's terrifying. I've seen a lot of specials on it. It really is something that is quite scary, especially on Long Island there. It's really becoming a major thing, this whole opioid crisis. So definitely check that out if you are available. And I'm sure the town will be having a bunch of other programs too as it comes up. So check that out. Here's another great little thing that the town is doing. This is good for anyone that has, that might be a parent or a grandparent. It's a bike rodeo and helmet safety event. That's going to be on Wednesday, April 27th. Council member Delamonte is going to partner with the police department to host this program at Manor Haven Beach Park. The hour-long fun and educational event will begin at 4:30 p.m. and will provide children with the opportunity to participate in a series of courses that allows them to practice bicycle safety and agility skills, which I thought is such a cool thing. I like that they're teaching kids safety, but in in a fun way. So definitely RSVP for that. It is a free event, but you must register by April 20th. So
Rebecca has the answer.
Oh, just she.
Yeah, I texted it. I don't know. It's such an unpleasant term. I thought I would just let you know what it was.
Oh.
Well, home invasion.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't even thinking that. Yes, but that is terrifying thought, obviously, but we have the word for that. Best or better off, you know what? Don't answer the door. That's kind of my go-to.
Don't answer the door.
I just don't answer it. If someone really needs me, they have my phone number. They can give me a buzz.
All right.
So that's kind of my 2 cents. But on a lighter note, Springfest 2023 is going to be on Saturday, May 6th at Clark Botanic Garden, the beautiful Clark Botanic Garden. It's an exciting afternoon filled with a lot of beautiful tulips, live interactions with animals. There's a musical movement show, nature walks, crafts, music, characters, butterfly releases. I mean, this is all like right up my alley. So there's a whole wonderful schedule. So I encourage people to go. It's such a lovely event. I mean, Clark Botanic Garden is really a beautiful gem in the North Hempstead community. So I encourage people to check it out. Another fun, friendly. And I just like this idea of butterfly releasing. I might have to go to sounds great.
And I think they have characters and
there's all kinds
like that
they always
for the
get
kids.
kind of like little Disney. And I love that the crafts, and it's a fun. Every time I think of spring, I do think of like Springfest because it's a perfect, time to kind of celebrate in a beautiful setting. There's going to be an annual Mother's Day plant sale on Friday, May 12th. That will also be at Clark Botanic Garden from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on that Friday, and Saturday from May 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's all kinds of different annuals, perennials, herbs, shrubs, hanging baskets, trees, and it all goes to help the fund for the Fannie Dwight Clark Memorial Garden, which is really, really nice. Oh, and I also see, which is fun, they're going to have Taste New York is going to have a booth at the plant sale featuring different Long Island food products, which that sounds great too. That's a wonderful little selling point. So definitely check that out. It's a nice little thing to do. Speaking of plants, there's going to be a bunch of different home sustainably workshops I want to remind people of, whether it's sustainable yard care, native plant gardening, rain gardens. You can also watch a recording of the previous classes. So you can go to the North Hempstead website and see it on there and kind of do that, because I know in my house, we are fully invested into spring cleanup outside and planting things. So definitely check it out. It's a good little therapy. And just to remind anyone, for all of these things, you can just call 516-869-6311 for anything we talked about today. I know it's a lot of information. There is still a couple of spots available for the brown bag check on your medications, and that's Friday, April 28th at the Yes We Can Community Center between 12:30 and 2:30, but you need to make an appointment for that.
If you need a brown bag, I have plenty. So just let me know.
like
Call 311. I'm happy to.
Beck found out a way to recycle her brown bags. I like that full circle moment.
It's Kristina will definitely let me know if you call. We're happy to do that. But and that's it. I mean, we are at the end of the show. I want to thank our guests and wish everybody celebrating a a wonderful holiday this weekend, month, next month to really enjoy and have a great weekend. And we'll be back next week, won't we? And wonderful
pre-record.
weekend.
Actually, we're off next week. We'll have a pre-record.
Oh, it'll be pre-record. Right, next week I'm going to see my son's recital.
Yeah,
that's right.
There you go.
Be here. So have a great weekend all, and listen into Project Independence in You on Community Talk Radio at 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Be well, everyone.